You're watching The Obelisk, where forgotten faith, forbidden texts, and sacred conspiracies get the spotlight. Tonight, we unearth the legend of Thoth, the Egyptian god of writing and wisdom, and the forbidden scroll whispered to hold the secrets of gods and mortals alike. What if this book was never meant for human eyes? What if its power was the reason fearful priests buried it in darkness in the first place? As always, we stick to accredited sources for our experts as we delve into this topic. However, we do leave some room for speculation from the fringes of the academic world. Here's a quote from Dr. Eric Hornung, a renowned Egyptologist and former professor at the University of Basel. In Egypt, the written word was not just a tool, it was divine, and Thoth was the very embodiment of divine speech. Sorry to interrupt your video. I'm trying to hit 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year, so if you'd give the little subscribe button a little tickle, would much appreciate it. Anyway, back to the video. So who was Thoth? Thoth, or Dejehuti in the native tongue, most likely butchered that, was no ordinary deity. He was the soul of the divine intellect, the tongue of Ra, and the keeper of time and balance. According to Egyptian cosmology, Thoth was self-created, and through him writing, law, magic, and the stars were born. As Dr. Geraldine Pinch, a lecturer in Egyptology at Oxford, states, Thoth was believed to maintain the universe not through brute force, but through the act of recording and naming. He was the scribe that held the cosmos together. So could writing really be the origin of creation? Was Thoth shaping our cosmos through symbols? The Book of Thoth unveiled. The legendary Book of Thoth wasn't a single scroll locked in a tomb. It was more like an evolving spiritual technology, updated across centuries, from funerary books of the dead, which we did cover in detail in another video on the Osiris cult. The link for that will be up here, to the Greco-Egyptian magical papyri filled with spells and divine invocations. The text attributed to Thoth formed a kind of mystical lineage, but during the Ptolemaic period, which is around 300 BCE to 30 BCE, when Egypt was ruled by Greek-speaking pharaohs, a new and striking form of sacred text appeared. These weren't just prayers or rituals, they were dialogues, conversations between Thoth himself and a scribe referred to as he who loves knowledge. And they were written in something different, demotic. Now, just a disclaimer here, we're not saying demonic. They came from the same language, the etymology of demotic and demonic, but it's very different. So this has nothing to do with demons or the demonic language. So what is demotic? Demotic was the everyday script of the Egyptian people, a simplified form of hieroglyphics writing. Unlike the grand temple carved hieroglyphics used by priests and pharaohs, demotic was quicker, more practical, and more secretive. It was often used for contracts, spells, letters, and yes, esoteric teachings. Here's a quote from Dr. Jasnow and Dr. Carl Theodor Zazik. This Book of Thoth does not merely transmit knowledge, it dramatizes the divine transfer of power through learning, secrecy, and ritual. So why use demotic? Was it simply practical, or was it designed to hide knowledge in plain sight? And what exactly was Thoth teaching in these dialogues? Geometry? Astronomy? The names of the gods? Or was it something deeper? The very architecture of the soul, hidden, forbidden knowledge. In the early Christian era, writers like Clement of Alexandria claimed that 42 books of divine science were written by Thoth, whom the Greeks renamed Hermes. These books allegedly store in temples, covered law and cosmology, medicine, ritual, and the soul's path. Here's a quote from Dr. Garth Fowden. These Hermetic books represented a complete theology, so threatening that Christian authorities had every reason to suppress them. So was this sacred science buried intentionally because it conflicted with the rising church's vision of truth? By the 2nd century CE, the Egyptian god Thoth had been fully merged with the Greek god Hermes, giving rise to the figure Hermes Trismegistus. I'll write it on the screen, way easier. His teachings became central to the Hermetic tradition, a body of esoteric texts that would go on to shape alchemy, Gnosticism, and Renaissance thought. One of its most famous works, the Emerald Tablet, falsely attributed to Thoth Hermes, proclaims, "As above, so below." Here's a quote from Dr. Brian Copenhaver, a professor of philosophy at the UCLA. Though synonymous, the Hermetic texts reflect a genuine longing to reclaim ancient divine wisdom, often couched in secrecy and veiled myth. So is this the true legacy of Thoth, a line of forbidden wisdom disguised as legend? Why it matters today. So from tarot cards to the Kabbalah, Tree of Life, Thoth's influence is everywhere in Western esotericism. Aleister Crowley's 1944 Book of Thoth tarot deck famously honours him, blending Egyptian symbolism with Hermetic mysticism. Beyond tarots, Thoth's legacy appears in the Hermetic order of the Golden Dawn's teachings, which incorporate Thoth's principles into their rituals and magical practices. Even modern occult traditions like Thelema, founded by Crowley himself, revere Thoth as a sacred guardian of sacred knowledge and cosmic order. His impact also extends to the development of alchemical symbolism and the study of sacred geometry, where Thoth's archetype guides seekers towards enlightenment. Here's a quote from Dr. Antoine Favier, former professor in Paris and pioneer of academic Western esotericism. Thoth became a spiritual archetype, the priestly scribe whose pen rewrites the boundaries of reality. So do we honour Thoth today by merely studying these symbols, or by practicing the sacred arts he guarded? Reflection and the Obelisk's challenge. So we've glimpsed a forbidden library of divine insight, some destroyed, some hidden, some encrypted in myth. But Thoth's wisdom, like the stars that he recorded, has never fully vanished. As Dr. Jan Assmann, an acclaimed German Egyptologist, states, the myth of Thoth speaks to a perennial hope that divine knowledge, though lost or forbidden, can still be recovered by the worthy. So can we seek that wisdom without hubris? Or was this divine scribe warning us, tread carefully, even with the pen? Now onto channel news. I'd like to say thank you for watching today's episode of the Obelisk. We're getting closer to 1,000 subscribers. We've just literally hit 140, which is brilliant. And honestly, your support is what keeps these ancient truths alive. Every like, every comment, every share, it really does make a difference. I'm trying to strike a balance between mystery, storytelling, whilst trying to keep it all grounded in academic sources, with credible experts to quote from. The main aim here is historical accuracy. Sure, speculation might arise, and that's down to each of us to determine the meaning behind the text that are usually in dead or almost dead languages. And a lot of the videos lately come straight from your suggestions, and I do read every single one of them. So if there's a forbidden text, a god, or a ritual you think we should cover, drop it in the comments below. It might just become our next deep dive. Also, I'd love to hear your feedback on what you find's working, what could be stronger, if there's anything that could be cut down. it's hard to try to find that balance. I'm still feeling my way around it. But as this channel grows, it grows with you, not just for you. So I'll leave you with this little thought. There's a UK parcel company here in the UK called Every, who was formerly called Hermes, and has a hazy yet reasonable link to the ancient god Thoth. So there's something to think about. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.